Here I will like to say something about how we differ from medicine. Because if we see the infection in medicine and if we see infection in dentistry, there is a little difference. If we see an entire body, there are many kind of infections which are affecting our various system of the body, and they can be treated by medicines only. But how dental infection differ from the medical infection or other infection of the body? Because we are talking basically of bacterial infection, because there are so many viral infection, fungal infection. But in this presentation, we are basically concentrating on bacterial infection of the body, and in particular dentistry or dental infection. So when we are talking of dental infections, the most two common dental infections are dental caries and periodontal infections. You know, dental caries is a bacterial infection which affects the first hard part of the tissue, that is enamel and dentine, treat them. Similarly, in the periodontal infections, there is a deposits of calculus tartar which is affecting our tooth and surrounding tissue gums. Once again, we have to do procedure first, then we can take help of the antibiotics. So this is the basic difference between infections in dental infections or other body part of infection. So we have to keep in mind, as a dentist, we have to remove the cause first, then we can take the supportive therapy in the forms of antibiotics and anti-inflammatory. This is very important to understand. This is the importance of oral disease worldwide. Severe periodontitis is the sixth most prevalent disease worldwide, affecting 11% of the population. Personal lifetime prevalence of dental abscess has been reported to 5 to 46%. Odontogenic infection places a high burden on the patient due to cost of care and low lost days of productivity at work. Here, while I will like to say, prevention is better than cure. So we have to catch dental infection at early stage. When dental caries is in the tooth only, in the dentin and enamel, we have to remove it and we have to restore it. Then we need not to give any pharmaceutical support to the patient. But if it reaches to the abscess level or periapical region, then we have to do therapeutical treatment. What are the infections? Pulpitis or periapical abscess, periodontal and periodontal abscess, pericoronitis or pericorontal abscess, gingivitis and gingival abscess, and more alarming is deep facial space infections. And predisposing factors, I told you, dental caries, periodontal inflammatory accumulation, necrotic pulpal tissues, or surgical or traumatic tissue damage. So these are the predisposing factors. And what are the predisposing factors for these things? For carcinogenic factors, poor oral hygiene and diet. We know carbohydrates play a very important role for the development of caries. Periodontal disease, again, poor oral hygiene, smoking, hormonal changes. You know, when a lady is pregnant, there is a change of hormones, and in the puberty also there is a change of hormone, and chances of periodontal disease are more. Patient is suffering from diabetes mellitus or such debilitating disease, then again there is the imbalance of hormones, and chances of getting periodontal infections are more. Geriatric patients and general factors compromise immunofunctions, like patient is having on immunosuppressive drugs, or if patient is taking excessive alcohol. I will say excessive alcohol is harmful. As such, alcohol is not that harmful, but if you are taking excess of alcohol, then it is harmful. So these are the predisposing risk factors for a person who is prone to having these diseases, which are going to lead for the abscess formation or pus accumulation. If we see acute odontogenic infections are the principal reason of seeking dental care. The most common emergency endodontic infections are periapical abscess, which contribute 25%, pericoronitis 11%. It is commonly seen in adulthood patients with the age of 18 to 30 years, and periodontal abscess, which is governed by the periodontitis. Dentists typically prescribe between 7% and 11% of all common antibiotics prescribed. beta-lactam, marpolidase, tetracycline, clindamycin, metronidazole, or odontogenic infections. For odontogenic infection, if we see the chart, you can see the what I've told: 25% acute periapical abscess, 11% pericoronitis, and remaining 7% is periodontal abscess. What is periapical dental abscess? This is the principal abscess or most common type of dental abscess. As you can see in the slide, if we left carries untreated, it reaches the pulp, and from pulp it can reach to periapical region. And when it is in the pulp, that is known as pulpitis, and that is one of the most painful condition for human being. I can say this is the most severe pain after myocardial infarction pain. And if we have done filling and there is a micro leakage, then can also lead to the pulpitis and abscess formation at apex. If tooth is fractured and it is untreated, then also it can lead to pulpitis and ultimately abscess. The symptoms are slight tenderness to intense throbbing pain, pain proceeding swelling. There may be pain come first or swelling come second, or it may be vice versa. Sometimes swelling may come first and pain may be there. There may be sensitivity to thermal foodstuffs, and tooth becomes tender on percussion. So these are the principal sign of periapical abscess, and this is the basically untreated caries and fracture tooth. Next is gingival abscess. Gingival abscess is localized location of gum tissue near the gingival margin or interdental papilla. It does not affect the tooth itself or periodontal ligament. Basically, this has been done because of some faulty brushing, some trauma to the gum tissues, or some puncture to the gum tissues. If sometime we are trying to do opening of the bottles, beer bottles with the tooth, which is not advisable also. So that cork slips out and pinch the gums. That kind of trauma may lead to gingival abscess, and symptoms are arrhythmia, swelling, and painful to touch. Another abscess is periodontal abscess. As I told you, if we don't treat the gingivitis and periodontitis, it leads along the side of the tooth, affecting the surrounding periodontal tissue, that is gums, and which cause accumulation of pus and inflammation of the surrounding tooth area. Sign and symptoms are periodontal pocket. There may be deep periodontal pocket. They are bleeding on probing, halitosis or bad smell from the mouth. And if it remain untreated, then it causes alveolar bone loss and ultimately tooth mobility, which may be 1 degree, 2 degree, 3rd degree. And if remains untreated, then again it may loss of tooth. Another is pericoronial abscess. This is basically pericoronitis, which is having gum tissue surrounding around the crown of partially erupted tooth. And most common tooth is the mandibular molar, followed by third maxillary molars, and it may lead to the inflammation of the surrounding tissues, which may lead to cheeks or sometime to some mandibular spaces. And signs are red, swollen lesions, swelling of the cheek, pain in cheek, which may radiate up to the ear or sometime to the shoulder, localized lymphadenopathy, and patient is not able to open the mouth. That is trismus. Potential complication. If we don't treat these untreated dental abscess, then it may affect our entire body. We may develop fever and chills. We have we can have severe trismus, and we have serious complication from swelling and edema, that is uvular deviation concerning sign for impending airway impairment, floor of mouth elevation, difficulty of swelling or extending tongue, sign for the impending airway impairment, cellulitis including Ludwig angina, a rapidly spreading gangrenous cellulitis in the neck region. I would like to tell you this is a very alarming condition. It may be life-threatening, and patient need immediate medical intervention also. Here, the role of antibiotic is very crucial. Sometimes we are using steroids and anti-inflammatory or mucolytic agent also. Another From from upper teeth, it may be maxillary sinusitis, extension of infection into sinuses, dentocutaneous fistula, erosion of infection through the skin. Sometimes your fistula may be intraoral and sometimes it may be extraoral. Another very life-threatening condition is cavernous sinus thrombosis. However, it occurs rarely. Whenever there is an infection in the upper anterior teeth, maxillary anterior teeth, central incisor, canine, then that can be traveled to our central nervous system, and which may lead to cavernous sinus thrombosis and causes eye and CNS symptom. And this is real life-threatening condition. I have seen patient dying of it. Now, etiology of dental infections. Odontogenic infections are mostly polymicrobial in nature, and common bacterial and odontogenic infections include gram-positive, facultative anaerobes, mostly Streptococcus, coagulase negative, Streptococcus epidermidis, gram-positive anaerobes, and gram-negative anaerobes. I will like to tell you E. coli and some gram-positive bacteria are the normal inhabitant of our oral cavity, which don't affect our teeth always. But when there is a food for them and there is a other infection, then they are also contributing to the this spread of infection. This is typical polymicro nature of odontogenic infection in 3 different countries, which we have done conduct this survey: Canada, India, and Italy. You can see mixed anaerobic and aerobic bacteria are the most common bacteria in our Indian population, which is contributing 60%, followed by 25% aerobic bacteria only. While in the Italy, you can see 68%, and in Canada, 50% and anaerobic bacteria only. This is maybe because of temperature change of the climate change. And bacteroides and Prevotella were the most common bacteria species among anaerobes, and viridans group Streptococci were the most frequently isolated bacteria among the aerobes. Importance of beta-lactamase producing bacteria in the odontogenic infection. Gram-negative anaerobes are often the major class of bacteria in dental infection, up to 80% of isolates. A higher proportion of the anaerobes associated with the dental abscess and other odontogenic infections are beta-lactamase producing bacteria, and the main isolate includes bacteroides, Prevotella, Fusobacterium, and Polymorphans. Beta-lactamase producing species have been identified in 50 to 87% of cases of chronic periodontal infection. Implication of mixed odontogenic infection in pathogenicity. This is a synergistic effect of aerobes and anaerobes, mixed colonization, O2 depletion by the aerobes, anaerobe proliferation, and toxin enzyme release, tissue destruction, abscess formation leads by this kind of bacterial action. Now coming to the role of antibiotics in dental practice. As I told you in my earlier presentation, there is a role of antibiotic in dental care, but only indication of systemic antibiotic in dentistry are limited because most dental and periodontal disease are best managed by operative intervention and oral hygiene measures. I want to say first we have to do the procedural treatment for the patient. If it is a dental caries or it is a periodontitis, we have to remove the cause, and we can use antibiotic therapy as adjunct to it. We can't depend on the antibiotic therapy. What I mean to say, we are doing prescribing antibiotic, anti-inflammatory only, and when we are not removing the cause, it is not going to help the patient. So in dentistry, we have to do both things together. That what are the criteria? Treatment for duration of antibiotic will depend on the type of infection, the extent and severity of the condition. The duration of antibiotic therapy is mainly based on expert opinion, and many dentists use short-term antibiotic that is for 3 to 5 days, and treatment of infection may be extended up to 5 to 10 days. It will depend on the severity of infection. And survey says the misuse of antibiotic is common among dentists throughout the world, supporting the need for continuing education in the use of antibiotics. Here we like to emphasize, most of the patients who are coming from abroad, they used to say to me, Indian dentists are in love with the antibiotics. So in what I want to emphasize, you don't jump upon just on antibiotic therapy. Try to follow asepsis practices and follow all protocols and do the treatments. And whenever antibiotic is utmost important to give, then only prescribe antibiotic. Don't misuse the antibiotic. As you know, there is a tendency to develop resistance against antibiotic. If we are misusing the antibiotics, then patient may suffer in a longer term. If he needs some antibiotic for his systemic infection, it may not affect him or her. So we have to prescribe antibiotics most cautiously whenever they are required only. These are the cross-sectional survey of antibiotic prescribed in dental practice. And antibiotics were often prescribed in the absence of fever, that is 92%. And antibiotics were oftenly prescribed without any local treatment, 54.2%. This practice we should not follow. Antibiotics are prescribed to 63% of patients with periapical abscess, but only 4.3% of patients with pulpitis. Inappropriate antibiotic prescribing in emergency clinics. According to US National Health Ambulatory Medical Care Survey, 1997 to 2007, of patients who visited the emergency department for acute non-traumatic dental conditions, 56% received at least one antibiotic with or without analgesia, and the proportion of patients who receive antibiotics in this setting is increasing. You can see 26% having only analgesic, 8.8% having only antibiotic, and 47.6% is having antibiotic and analgesic. I think this is the right combination, because when we are giving analgesic anti-inflammatory, because of this anti-inflammation activity, it increases the penetration of antibiotic to the tissue affected. Key consideration for management of dental abscess: pain management, drains pus to dismiss the risk of infection spread and aid pain relief, assess the risk for local or systemic spread of infection. This is very crucial. Antibiotics are usually not indicated for a localized abscess and have limited effect on pain reduction. Antibiotics have a definite role in situation where drainage is not possible, there is a evidence of spreading infection, the patient general health is affected, or the patient is at higher risk of serious infections like immunocompromised diseases like diabetes mellitus. Broad spectrum antibiotic therapy is indicated until infection site culture and sensitivity results are available. We should not go blindly broad spectrum antibiotic. We should try to get first culture of the abscess or pus, then we should prescribe accordingly. These are the different classes of antibiotics. An overview: B-lactamase, aminoglycosides, chloramphenicol, glycopeptides, quinolones, oxazinodols, sulfonamides, tetracyclines, macrolides, streptoorganism, and lipopeptides. These are the different kind of antibiotics among which we can select our antibiotics. And resistance rate in odontogenic infections. Penicillin resistance is increased in many countries and reported as high as 90% in patients with complicated facial spaces infection. A meta-analysis analyzed result data 7 studies involved 967 strains from 374 patients with dental abscess and infections. Maximum resistance was against tetracycline, that is 40%, followed by azithromycin 26%, metronidazole 15%, clindamycin 13%, amoxicillin 7.7%, and amoxicillin clorinate is 3.5%, minimum resistance against the bacteria. Management of dental abscess adapted from UK guidelines. Dental abscess, evidence of cellulitis, no, then local measures, pain, drain pus, analgesic if needed. If yes, then antibiotic treatment and local measures. Then first line amoxicillin, penicillin V, metronidazole, clindamycin. And if penicillin allergy, then second line amoxicillin, clovanate. Then consider treatment, refer to the hospital. This is the guideline recommendation for Spain. I will not going to read it in details. This is again for aggressive periodontitis. Amoxicillin clavulet is the drug of choice. Acute papillitis, amoxicillin clavulet is the drug of choice. Periapical abscess, periodontal abscess, pericoronitis, cellulitis. You can see in all group, amoxicillin clavulet is the choice of drug, and other drugs are clindamycin or erythromycin. This is the four separate surveys which were done in Turkey, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and India. In India, 59 dentists were surveyed, and 27.4% amoxicillin clonovate and 21.5% amoxicillin. You can see in other country also the 93.6% in Brazil, and everybody is preferring amoxicillin clenolate as a preferred choice of drug for antibiotics in dentistry. Attributes to the ideal agent: eliminate causative organisms. I have told you, appropriate pharmacokinetic profile with good penetration and diffusion at the site of infection, including periapical bone or perioral bone. For this, we have to use anti-inflammatory so that the inflammation may reduce and drug may reach up to the site. Dosing schedule and facilitate treatment compliance, and we have to keep in mind side effects. This is the how amoxicillin calcinate mechanism of action against beta lactamase, because this is the choice. This is the combination of two drugs, amoxicillin and clavulanic acid. So clavulanic acid just increase the activity of amoxicillin and it becomes the bactericidal. So clavulanic acid attack on the beta lactamase enzyme and beta lactamase enzyme inactivation, and amoxicillin attack on the pathogen, and because of the inactivation of beta lactamase, it becomes bactericidal. It causes death of the cell of the bacteria. Is it clear? I told you, clavulanic acid is a natural product of microorganism Streptomyces clavigeus, and clavulanic acid brings into binds the beta lactamase enzyme at the activate site and blocks the activity irreversibly, and ultimately amoxicillin and clavulanic acid arises from the complementary binding to each other and kill the bacteria. This is the antibiotic spectrum of amoxicillin clavulanate in dental infection. You can see it is effective against gram-positive facultative anaerobes, gram-positive anaerobes, and gram-negative anaerobes. 96.5% of 557 dental infection strains were susceptible to amoxicillin clavulanate. 96.5% is a quite good percentage, so we can depend on this combination of drug to treat the bacterial infection in the dental lesions. This is the another comparison chart of different antibiotics and different bacteria. So you can see again, amoxicillin clavulanate is the drug of choice for all bacteria which are commonly present in oral cavity. More than 80% sensitive strains was killed by this kind of combination. Doxycycline, clindamycin, metronidazole, these are having some effect or some on some no. So that is why amoxicillin clavulanate is the drug of choice for treating this kind of infection. This is the against different type of bacteria. Gram-positive facultative anaerobic cocci, 96%. Gram-negative strict anaerobic bacilli, 78.2%. And gram-positive facultative anaerobic bacteria, 100%. This is most of the time it is giving by oral administration, and this can be very well pharmacokinetically compatible, and absorption is good from the GIT, and both reach peak serum level approximately half of 1 hour after dosing. And we can have two choice, BID and TID. In BID, we are increasing the amount of drug, and you can see the plasma level remain constant with the BID dosage also and reaches more higher peak. So this is more compatible and more flexible to the patient. BID dosage are more easily taken by the patient. Tissue penetration achieves effect level of concentration in serum and gingival clavicular fluid above the MIC of susceptible periodontal anaerobes. Among the adverse effects, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, mucocutaneous candidiasis. So careful inquiry should be done and should be used in the caution in the patients having hepatic and renal dysfunction, and should be avoided in pregnancy, especially during the first trimester. This is the suitability of dental infection. Amoxicillin offers broad spectrum coverage against the majority of pathogenic bacteria, as we described, and this may reach bloodstream with the bacterial activity against the aerobic and anaerobic bacteria, including beta-lactamase producing organisms. I know my time is. So this is the some few more study in dental infection. Clinical response in 39 patients with the confirmed result 87%. This is another with efficacy against azithromycin, and this has been found amoxicillin clavirate is much better than azithromycin. You can see this is amoxicillin in dental infection. I have already explained. This is another study by against clindamycin. We call it Augudent study, and in this study also augmentin clorinate proved the better. It was done in Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, and Malaysia. This is the detail of the study. The study conclusion was amoxicillin clavinate 1000 mg in the combination of 875 and 125 administered twice daily was comparable to clindamycin 150 mg administered 4 times daily in the achieving clinical success in acute odontogenic infection without abscess. So you can see a faster clinical response was there with a twice daily dose. So I would like to conclude. Acute odontogenic infections such as dental abscess are the principal reason for seeking emergency dental care. Therapeutic success is determined by the control of infection using surgical debridement and broad spectrum antimicrobial therapy. The addition of beta-lactamase inhibitors such as clavinic acid to amoxicillin confers protection against beta-lactamase, thereby extending the antibiotic spectrum or to anaerobes such as Pleurotola. Amoxicillin clonarate 875 and 125 combination administered twice daily was compared to all other antibiotics and with no significant difference in clinical efficacy or adverse effect. Twice daily of dosing of amoxicillin clavinate 1 gram has similar bacteriological and clinical efficacy as thrice daily 6 to 5 dose. We can use both and similar safety and complete convenience and compliance by the patient. So I will like to conclude the use of this combination of good amoxicillin clavinic acid is good in our dental practice, but I will like to again emphasize on the antibiotics are not the alternative to dental intervention, rather they are adjunctive to the clinical intervention. Thank you for your patience listening.